Hello and welcome back to another edition of 5-Minute Physiology. I'm Ken Vitale. I'm a professor at the university. I teach exercise physiology. This week we are talking all things EPOC and VO2max. We're going to start out with VO2max. So as you can see here, we reviewed this in lecture. Oxygen consumption proceeds on a steady state. Once we increase intensity, in this case, higher grades on a treadmill, well, the oxygen consumption has to rise to meet that demand, and we get to a steady state. We keep rising. Eventually, we get to a point where even though we raise the grade and the difficulty level in terms of intensity, our oxygen consumption no longer increases, and that's how we get to a VO2 max. Very beautifully drawn picture. If you steadily increase those speeds at a quicker pace, like every 1 minute instead of every 3 minutes, you get a more steady rise until you hit your VO2 max. And if you look very closely and plot things a little bit different, in a different way, ventilation over here, oxygen consumption here, you get a point of ventilation that hits a deflection here where suddenly it picks up. That's your ventilatory threshold. And then a second inflection right here where it picks up again. That's your RCP, respiratory compensation point. And those correlate to onset of blood lactate accumulation. Now, these all look beautiful, but in the real, it's, well, a little bit messier. This is a treadmill exercise stress test done here at the university on someone I know, actually. And the lines are a lot sloppier and messier. This one was done on a bike. This one was yours truly. And you can see here I was very excited and talking. I didn't have the mask on right, so there was a very sloppy oxygenation charting here. And the guy finally said, all right, you just need to shut up at about 3 minutes and just focus. And then I went into it. So life doesn't happen exactly the way beautiful graphs do in your textbooks. Gallery of the Greats. These are some amazing feats of human athleticism. Some of the highest recorded VO2 max in women are with rowing and skiing, with men skiing and cycling. This is a picture of me doing this. I am certainly not a gallery of the great. I am much more mediocre, because once I started to get into it, I was like, oh man, this is hard. Oh, this is really hard. And I literally collapsed on the bike. I could not take it anymore. It is hard to do a VO2 max test. All right, onto some mnemonics. This is not so great. I don't like this one. It's out there. If you really have trouble remembering what VO2 max is, most people in the general healthcare exercise science field already know it, but I don't know, it's out there. I don't really like it. This one's a little bit better. What factors contribute to your VO2 max? And this may not be as easily apparent when you think about it, but if you just remember capes, as in, yes, Superman, or actually, I don't know why he's masked. I asked AI to help draw or create something of a superhero with a cape doing a VO2 max test, and well, this is what I got. But importantly here, cardiac output. Age, right? VO2 max declines 1% per year. That kind of stinks as you get older. Altitude's another one. Pulmonary ventilation, of course, how well your lungs process that oxygen. This is a critical one, how much oxygen you extract in your muscles. Enzymes as well, how much of an increase in mitochondrial enzymes do you have? Usually it goes up with training and goes down with detraining. And then if you have a higher body weight, oxygen consumption at rest is 3.5 milliliters of oxygen per kilogram per minute. So if you have higher kilogram, therefore higher body weight, well, you're going to consume more oxygen, so you can have a higher value. Now, this is much more important. Which of the capes is the main limiting factor? This is a very common quiz or test question. And does anyone know what it is? Well, it's the pump. It's the delivery of oxygen, not the AVO2 difference, which is a lot of people think it is, how quickly you can extract that oxygen. It's actually how quickly you can get the oxygen there. Your heart is the main limiting factor. Here's a little drawing of the AVO2 difference. The quicker you can get that blood in, the quicker your muscles can extract that oxygen out and use it for exercise. Amazingly, the physiologist Fick figured that out in the 1870s. How impressive is that? All right, and to round out this talk, a couple nicknames in terms of VO2 max. It has been nicknamed the fitness ceiling, and this is absolutely true. I drew this as my horrible drawings. If you've seen my whiteboards, you know how bad I am. But this actually is very applicable to fitness ceiling. And Phil Skiba, I actually met him at conference and heard him talk. He wrote this book, and I don't know why this flies under the radar. It is such a good book in terms of practical appreciation of VO2 max and, much more importantly, how you train. This will be for another talk. I'll leave this for you to review, but basically you can imagine yourself. You have a ceiling, you can raise your ceiling, you can raise your roof, and you can raise the peak of the roof in these different steps here. You probably can't read this, but as my handwriting, but first the whole house grows in terms of your VO2 max. That's the first step when you start training. Then you grow and can perform right here yourself closer to your critical power. Then if you do some specific training, which very few do, you can actually raise your critical power, and then you're getting to elite level. And then if you're at Olympic level, you then now need to raise your roof again and then re-raise your critical power. Very fascinating and incredibly specific way to train.